Thank you for the introduction and welcome everyone. Before starting, I just would like to thank the organizing committee for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here today and to speak about this topic, medical digital twins. You have seen a lot of talks during this week about AI, medical imaging, and so on. I just will not repeat all this information. I'll just be on the topic of digital twin today. It's like a downstream task we can complete after extracting some information of different modalities. And the goal is to assemble it into a coherent model, living model of a single patient. Let me give you the map of the presentation for the 30 minutes I have. The talk is organized around the three main questions. The first one is what exactly is a medical digital twin and how we made it. The second one is how does AI turn raw data, heterogeneous data, in something coherent and clinically usable. And the third one is what are the challenges today, the technical challenges, the computational challenges, and the regulatory challenges, and how we can overcome them, or maybe think about them. The first section is the problem, and I will try to explain what's the problem. In surgery and medicine more broadly, we have a lot of standardized protocols. These procedures are designed around a kind of a textbook patient. And in this world, a patient or another one is linked to like a procedure. But the reality is that the patients are not average. Anatomical variability refers to natural differences in shape, size, and mechanical properties of the patient and the anatomical structures from a patient to the next. Two patients with the same diagnosis can have different anatomy, different conditions, and so on. Add to this the growing complexity of modern procedures like mini-invasive surgery, like robotic assistance or narrow safety margin are like complexifying the surgery. To which like one-size-fits-all protocol simply cannot capture all the surgeon is facing in the OR, and the goal of the digital twin is to fill the gap between this standardized protocol and the real patient anatomy. And in fact, it can help surgeon to better diagnose the patient and to fill or avoid some mistakes, errors between the surgery. So how do we close the gap? The shift that is happening across the field is moving from population-based protocols toward patient-specific anatomy, and digital representation can help us. A protocol built from an average patient does not reflect the clinical reality of the patient actually in the surgeon table. And the digital technology now gives us a different framework. Instead of applying a recipe, we can build a model of the specific patient. We can then use it to anticipate what will happening during the surgery or during the treatment, to simulate or to test some procedures to simulate the intervention before we perform it. And at the end, the goal is to individualize the care by delivering something specific to the patient. This is the promise. Why does this matter? Because it changes the fundamental logic of care from reactive to anticipatory. Personalized medicine means treatment tailored to the individual rather than the average. It has been promising a long time ago, but now we have the ingredient to do it with AI, with computer vision, with all the algorithm developed from several years. We can merge all this data in a single entity we can call the medical digital twin, representing the patient at one state, at one time, and we can use it to simulate, to interact with this twin, and to perform, we hope, surgery better. In this section, I would like to define what's the medical digital twin and how we made it. This is my definition. I think there was a lot of definition of a medical digital twin. It's a virtual replica of the patient anatomy constructed by integrating heterogeneous data sources into a single patient-specific model. If I unpack a bit the wording, virtual replica means it is a computational model, not a physical model. Of patient's anatomy means it's a specific to one individual person, not a generic atlas. And integrating heterogeneous data means it's aggregating a lot of data like preoperative imaging, intraoperative imaging in a single reference. In its simple form, it's a twin built from, for example, CT scan, and it's static at one time. But the real value comes from when the twin is enriched during diagnosis or in the OR by fusing several kind of information of the same patient. The first data stream we have is the classical one is medical imaging that is used always as a backbone of the twin. It comes in two forms, the preoperative imaging, like CT scans, MRI, and so on, acquired before the intervention. And it gives us a detailed, high-quality picture of the patient anatomy. This is what we use to plan. But there is also intraoperative imaging acquiring during the procedure itself, such as fluoroscopy, CT, ultrasound, or video in laparoscopy, for example. This distinction is not a detail because preoperative imaging tells us what the anatomy looked like beforehand, and intraoperative imaging tells us what it looks like now on the table after the patient has been positioned and the soft tissue has been started to move with the breathing, the heartbeat, and so on. That movements come from soft tissue shift, respiration, and surgical gestures. A digital twin that only know the preoperative state is already out of date at the surgery time, and keeping it sync with the intraoperative time is the hardest but the most valuable thing that AI can do today. The second data stream is biomechanics, where imaging tells us the shape. Biomechanics tells us about the behavior, how the anatomy responds to force or deformation, and so on. Formally, this is a mathematical or computational representation of how tissue, bones, joints deforms, bear load or movements. Crucially, they are not from the individual patient directly, but they are coming from literature with models, statistical models or experiments. It's exactly what you can see on the right side. It's a shoulder on which we are simulating anatomical forces to evaluate if the model we have is okay or not, just for validation purposes. And with this biomechanical model, we can predict how the tissue will deform, for example, during surgery, because I talk a lot about surgery because it's my main research topic. And okay, we can imagine, okay, the surgeon is cutting the tissue with a tool and how the tissue will deform or react to this incision, or how the prosthesis implanted in the bone will constrain the bone after surgery, and how the motion of the patient will be restored well or not. And we can say biomechanics is the physical engine of the twin. And the first data stream is a clinical measurement. And this is what grounds the twin in the reality of the patient or the person, not just anatomy. It covers functional data, how the joint actually moves, and how the organ actually performs. It also covers biological data and information gathered during clinical examination, like range of motion, pain, and so on. And this measurement enrich the model with information that imaging or biomechanics cannot. Many people already produce beautiful 3D reconstruction from CT or MRI. A detailed anatomical model you can rotate on screen. But I want to be clear about these points. A 3D reconstruction from CT is already a kind of medical digital twin, but is this its simplest form, because it's just geometry and it's static at one time point. It's like a snapshot frozen in a single moment. What we really want is going a step further and making the twin dynamic. Think on the reconstruction as a single photo and the dynamic twin, as a video, a film, continuously updated as the patient condition changes, or like the procedures is going on. The difference is not cosmetic, it's more deeply more deep. Only film can guide an action in real time during the surgery. Everything most valuable about the twin, such as simulation or intraoperative guidance, depends on the capacity of updating this twin to the real state of the patient. Let me talk about a bit more about involving over time. This idea concrete is placing the twin along the care pathway. The care pathway is simply just a sequence of steps from the diagnosis to the post-follow-up, the post-operative phase called the follow-up. And this static representation is built once, and we need one by step to follow the patient. But we can imagine to aggregate them in a single patient, single digital twin, like the dynamic medical digital twin. And I have already done. If we try to understand how we can do this, we can use a tool, but it's not the only way to perform this dynamic digital twin. It's like simulation. We can try to simulate different approaches for the surgeon. Like, okay, if I place the prosthesis like this or like that, what will be the impact on the patient and in the follow-up? I will maybe restore better the motion of the shoulder if I place it like this or like that. And the second is also the patient education. If we show the patient during the interview with the surgeon before the surgery, okay, this is your diagnosis, this is your pathology, we will do this intervention like that and like that, it will help the patient to understand better the surgery, and also to make it more comfortable with the idea with the idea to go to the OR. And in this section, I will go deeper in the technical layer and how AI is an enabling layer of the medical digital twin. So how does AI actually fit in all of this? I, as just previously mentioned, AI can be considered as an enabling layer of this pipeline. There is not only AI in this pipeline, it can be classical algorithm, but AI today is very good to, for example, segment, detect, reconstruct twins at scale, because it helps a lot to reduce time, because surgeons haven't time before the surgery. They need something very quick, and AI can help us to do this. We can, for example, convert classical pipelines, usually made with medical image analysis, to AI pipelines just by, for example, resolving the same regression problem, optimization problem with models, like regression models. And by doing this, we are able to reduce the time and make the process more efficient and more, how can say, more easy to integrate in the hospital and the clinical practice. Before I get to the main step, application, or the thing we can call registration, I will just deal a bit with the steps comes just before. And I think during the week, you have a lot of talks about extraction, feature extractions, or image or signal analysis. And these methods are like giving the inputs of these aggregation steps. We have all the data as input, and we would like to merge them to make the digital twin. For example, this is one of the problems. It's we have two modalities, like an MRI or CT scan, and we like to make a digital twin combining the two. We need to register them with classical methods, like, okay, I will search for similarities in patches and try to compute the affine transformation between the two sets of image. This is one way. And in the way, we can use AI to compute with, for example, attention models, the transformation. And we can go further by, okay, aggregating more and more data. This is the preoperative data, but we can also aggregate the intraoperative data. I will show you just in a few slides later. Fusing this data is very important, and it's a very challenging task, and it's the up-to-date task, we can say, in research in the field of, for example, surgical assistance in real-time in the OR. It's very difficult because data sources are very heterogeneous, and we try to match, for example, a CT with an image, or an image with a US probe image, and it's very difficult to find stuff we can call primitives. It's like points, vectors, features that can help us to match the two images and to recover the right registration. And this registration can be, I will show you later, but can be rigid, non-rigid, and so on. And we'll need to cope with all these difficulties to make a single twin. I just bring one example of the work we have done in the university team in Clermont-Ferrand. And in this team, we are looking for augmented reality to guide the surgery. And here, we try to register the preoperative model made with a CT scan of a liver on an image without markers. And this is a difficult task, because the twin is static, but the image is moving and the liver is deformable. How we resolve this problem? One way, it's trying to decompose the problem in several steps, like extracting data. We can imagine the image extracting some contours on the twin, some other contours, and try to match them with like an optimization problem. But it's very, very annoying and time consuming. We can do something else. We can try to train a network. It's exactly what we have done. Try to train a network like human pose estimation, as previously presented, to make this lever as a graph. And we can recover with this network the pose parameters of the camera and also some principal deformation, like we decompose the spectrum of the deformation with a PCA, and the network will predict the component of the PCA to recover the great and the good deformation regarding the image we have. It's exactly what we have done and what we have industrialized in a product for augmented reality. And comparing to a classical optimization problem, taking minutes, this approach can take milliseconds. And in reality, it's close to 10 milliseconds for one image. And we can imagine to try to infer the pose and the deformation parameters for each images we have in the stream to recover this augmented reality stream. And it's working. And if you want more detail, we can discuss later. But yes, it's one approach. We can use AI for a lot of parts of the digital twin aggregation step. As I previously mentioned, we can use AI to estimate deformation, like in the left side. We can use AI classically to extract primitives. And I just repeat, but primitives are data we can match between modalities to recover a pose, deformation, and so on. And the goal of all of these steps is just to bring all this heterogeneous data in a single reference frame. And that's it for making a digital twin. I have some minutes, yes. I can just explain a bit more the methods we use to recover the pose of the lever. This is the schematic, and we can see, maybe with the mouse, it's better. We can see here, we have the model made of an encoder, a classical encoder or a foundation model encoder, extracting some features, but we are not using the real image. We are using a pre-processed image with just the contours. And we use these masks, contour masks, we can call it silhouette, to recover two things. The pose, it's the rigid transformation with the rotation and translation, and the parameters of deformation. And we recombine them to infer for the patient. But if we just do this, you will think, okay, it's working for one patient, but how we can generalize this approach? If effectively, we train this network for one patient in simulation, but after we think, okay, we have this model, but we would like to not retrain the model for each surgery. We would like to have a model generic. We do something totally different. Instead of predicting pose and deformation based on features, human features like contours, we train the network to extract the good features to register. It's exactly what you have in the literature for merging a CT scan with the MRI. There was some networks extracting some features of the two and merging them together. And we train the network just extracting features from an image. computing the pose and the deformation parameters to create this kind of visual with an augmented reality view of the kidney, for example. And it's trained with a manually annotated dataset based on a stereoscopic views. We use the robot, Da Vinci robot in this case, with a stereoscopic camera. We collect the data, we register the twins on all the images, and after we train the network, recovering the RT data and the deformation parameters. And it's very efficient, and the precision of this method is less than 10 millimeter. And it's the margin we have in this kind of surgery. In reality, it's a 7 millimeter average. And the time to infer this data is 12 milliseconds. And with that, we can replace the old pipeline in computer vision because we have it before, like using feature-based tracking. We can replace it by using this kind of models. And we can add also what Christophe is presenting just before, LSTM blocks to transfer the data and to make the augmentation consistent in time. But sometimes it's failing, and we need to try to find some solutions. And the main challenges of that is the tissue deformation and also the patient repositioning between the preoperative steps and the intraoperative steps. Like in breast surgery, when the patient is doing the imaging, the patient is lying on like this, but during the surgery, he is lying on the back, and the deformation is very high, and it's very difficult to recover. But for now, I think in the literature there is no answer to the question, but it's a very, very interesting and active topic for this. And the other problem is occlusion and so on. It's a very difficult problem. Just for the last minutes, we can maybe think about reproducibility and observer variability. In fact, we can resolve this kind of problems if we want, for example, an augmented image with the digital twin in the OR. We can imagine to place the twin on the image, move with the mouse the twin on the image, and we will have something in augmented reality. But it's time consuming, and between operators, we will have a different result. And the goal of AI also is or computer vision and the package AI and classical algorithm is to have something reproducible between operators and surgeries. What we can do based on this twin is to predict, for example, implant positioning. I will dig it more deeply, I think, in the next session. We can use AI to recover or to do pose estimation of the implant based on a lot of constraints like geometry, anatomical, landmarks, business constraints, and surgeon preferences. And we can train networks to place implants. Also, we can aggregate, as I mentioned before, other data sources like kinematics or FEM simulations to make the digital twin more dynamic and to predict, for example, the motion of the shoulder or the bone strength during the implantation step. And the last thing is, okay, we have the digital twin, but the digital twin in a screen, it's good, but not enough, because before, during the preoperative step, we can display this twin on the screen, classical screen, or like in this picture, stereo screen. Or you can use a lot of devices like headsets to better visualize the twin and interact with it. for example, we have some solutions I will show you later also to move the twin in space, interact with it, and plan the surgery better. And after the step for me, the step after is okay, we have the twin, we recover the pose with the image, and we have the augmentation in live in the OR by transferring the plan from the surgeon or this plan in head, in mind, to the act during surgery. I already speak about this. The main part to make this twin okay for hospitals and for the industry, we need to have something safe with manage costs, with a lot of automated steps. We cannot ask surgeon, okay, place the scan on the MRI, do this, annotate these points. We need to automate the process to make it reliable for the clinical purposes and clinical applications. And the big problem we faced today from the industrial point of view is the economic model of this system. For generating this model, we need computational power or people to review images, but in fact, no one wants to pay for this. It will be integrated in the offer, the clinical offer, and it's a real problem to transfer this beautiful idea we have in the science laboratories to the industrial part and the clinical applications, because we need things to costing and no one wants to pay. And it's, yeah, difficult. I will just give you some ideas about the challenges we faced on making this digital twin reliable. It's the data quality first. As you already know, training models needs data with review data with quality metrics, and it's some expectation for the regulations. For example, we need to collect the data with the GDPR compliance. Now we have the AI Act going on top of that, and we need to respect this framework, regulatory framework, to make it usable in reality. And another point, it's the data are hard to obtain, like the example I mentioned you before for the pose of the liver in the image. It's not the data we collect in clinical practice, in routine clinical practice. We need to set up some systems able to collect this data to have to train the network. And it's like thinking in another way to first create some system to collect and after train the final model usable for the problem. Yes, I already also speak about this. We need computational power, and today in the hospitals they haven't a lot of computational power. Major hospitals have this, but the small ones no. And in these small hospitals, it's where the value of the digital twin is the best, because the surgeons are not as trained as the biggest ones. They need guidance to perform the surgery, and it's one point we need to resolve to make it this digital twin in the clinical practice. And if we want to transfer this digital twin in the OR, we need power inside the OR, and it's not always, or it's not the case today. And the last point is the regulatory validation. It's a very big challenge for industries. We need to validate all the scientific bricks, pipeline steps, but also we need to cope with medical regulation and all the frameworks, for example, FDA in the US or MDR in the UE, in Europe. And it's very challenging for us to merge the scientific approaches to this very constrained V&V approach we have in the industry. And sometimes it's slow up the innovation in our companies. And all these things are coupled together, data, compute, and regulation. And at the end, what we try to do is thinking all of this science, regulation, data, computation together to make it available for the patient at the end. So the takeaway message for me is this one. Because the challenges are systemic and coupled, they have to be anticipated during the starting of the project, the design of the project, and not retrofitted at the end of the project. And it's what we are doing in my team, trying to place science inside this very structured framework. And I think it's the end. Thank you for your attention. And if you have some questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, Kilian. Some questions? No? One. The Daily Sports.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I was wondering what was the future thing about prediction in your computational models and in the numerical twins.
The future things, meaning like what we can expect.
I think that here you are helping for surgery. I think maybe you will be able to predict things, for instance, aging in patients.
Okay. I will present this in the later session, but we can imagine to predict, for example, post-operative outcomes. Like, okay, if I manage the twin like this, I will at the end estimate the recovering time of the patient. It can be a way of using AI in the predictive pipeline.
Okay, and you think you have to go through this whole thing of the numerical twin to go to prediction after that?
I think yes, because there are some already made models like machine learning models aiming to predict the outcomes of the patient based on, for example, the size, the weight, and so on of the patient. But we would like to integrate also, for example, the planification, the surgical planification. And for that, we need the twin. And we need to aggregate the patient-specific data to the twin to make the prediction of the outcomes better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Oh, yep.
Thank you for the nice overview. Overall, it's a very super hard problem, but I was wondering, how do you actually validate this system? Because you already have a data issue. And just for the example you show where you have some parametric model for the liver, I imagine, I'm not sure, but I imagine that liver sizes vary with patient sizes, maybe, or some other variability. And maybe in your data set, which was hard to get, it didn't capture all the variability. So just the shape parameters are learned in a biased manner with thin patients, for example. And when you actually deploy the model, you have your patient who's the liver size is completely like big, and then I don't see how you can and then you can only validate when an actual surgery is happening in a way, but your model could be performing already bad. Like it's
Okay, thank you for the question. For the first point about the validation, what we are doing, it's okay. What we like to predict is the position of the mesh on the image. But what we can do for validation, we can reverse the problem, saying, okay, we have a model, a preoperative model, usually static, and we deform it for aligning it to the image. But if we do this, it's very difficult to constrain, to tweak. And we can do the reverse. Okay, we have an image we deform the preoperative model with known deformation. And regarding this deformation, we can measure the error. And based on that, we can validate. It's exactly what we have done. We reverse the problem and say, okay, with this deformation, with this distance between the model and the camera, we can say the average accuracy or the recurring of the error between vertices is this, for example, 7 millimeter. If you go far, if you deform like this, if you stretch more, we have this error and so on. But before going to DOR, we validate on phantoms, plastic models, 3D printed models, and also in simulation. But in DOR, it's very difficult to add markers on the patient to say we have a reference and we compare the two systems. It's not possible. And it's the reason why we are using phantoms or animals to validate this model before going to DOR.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Other questions? We have time maybe for one more.
Thank you for your presentation. I think this is a really interesting topic, and I was just wondering how accessible or affordable it is to the people. This kind of technology, do we know if it is accessible to the people or not?
Thank you for this other question. Most of the work I just present to you are research work, but these research works are transferred to a company for industrialization. And today, there is a system in the market with markerless augmented reality for uterus surgery. And the liver is going, but not yet ready. And for orthopedic surgery, we are also developing other systems for shoulder surgery. And they are not CE marked now, but they are very close to be. And yeah, system spread is not done for now, but yeah, we are in the last validation steps, we can say.
Okay, we thanks again, Kilian, for this talk.
Thank you.